All right, welcome back. So we got a little rainy Monday to start our week off. It's not too bad though; it'll be okay. So here's what we are doing today. Today we are taking a look. Okay, we're transitioning from logic to epistemology. Epistemology is our second unit. We had to begin with logic again because we needed foundation. We needed foundation to be able to justify what we believe, what we know is true, and as we can see from the graphic behind me, actually, I guess technically it's in front of me, that the middle ground between what truth and belief, when we can justify both of them, what that is, it is then knowledge. And that is essentially what we're looking at with epistemology. Now, we're taking this slow, okay? We're taking this slow because I know that the word epistemology is a word that you've never heard before or that you don't know much about. And that's okay. That's okay. You don't the vocabulary is important, but it's not the only aspect of philosophy. It's more so the ideas that are the most important. There's many theories as to like for example, there's the idea that people have that they may be the only person, the only real person in the world, and everything else is just either a figment of their imagination or not not real. You know what I mean? That's a common thought that people have. Now, that common thought that people have, or not even like they believe it, they just have that idea. But that common idea that people have is there's a word for it. It's called solipsism. But do you need to know the term to be able to understand the idea? No, not at all. Not at all. So don't worry too much about the terms. It is going to be important when we, have quizzes, we have tests. It's going to be important then, but uh, it's not going to be overly emphasized. So don't worry about that too much. Okay. So, in order to be the bridge between logic and epistemology, your assignment for today is asking you to kind of justify why you believe some things. Because again, it is that justification part that we're going to talk about right here. So, what is epistemology? I'm going to move my face right there. So, what is epistemology? Epistemology is well, it comes from the Greek word epistem or episteme, which means knowledge, science, and understanding. Okay. So when you hear the word epistemology, what is being discussed there or what is being embodied in that term is what we know. So the study of epistemology is what we know, it is how we came to know it, and how we know that it is true. Okay. So epistemology is about knowledge. Again, that should be, if you could connect those two words together, some word association, knowledge and epistemology, that is what you need to know. That is what's going to help you. This is the study of knowledge, the study of knowledge. Epistemology is the study of knowledge. In class, if we were in class, I say things kind of over and over, especially when I want to emphasize them. The more you hear it, hopefully the more you know it. But that's just one of my little cadences, my little nuances that I have like as a teacher. I know that again this is a little bit different. But the more that I keep doing this, the more I find that my kind of just it's easier to just do it how I would do it in front of the class. So if I say some weird stuff, some off the wall stuff, or anything like that, that's why. Okay. So epistemology is the study of knowledge. So how do we know what we know? How do we know that it's true? And how do we know it to begin with? So, okay, that is epistemology. That may sound confusing because why are we looking in this much depth? Why can't we just accept things? Well, again, that's why we had to start with logic, because of logic, what that does is it makes you doubt. And that's why we did like the deductive and inductive reasoning. That's why we looked at the problems with logic. That's why we looked at logical fallacies, because if there is no doubt and you accept everything, well, then you're going to run into some issues. And one, you're not going to have accurate information. We saw that with logical fallacies. If you are debating a topic and you just accept what is being said, at face value, and accept that it is true, well, then you're going to be led astray in that pursuit of what is true, and that can mean something deeper or shallower depending on what it is that you're trying to figure out. Okay, so we have to have some type of doubt. If we accept everything we hear, well, you can see how dangerous that can be. That's what these echo chambers are, like on Facebook, on Twitter, on cable news. They're echo chambers. We have to doubt what we are hearing as being completely true just because we heard it from a reputable source. That's what we looked at with the appeal to authority. Well, my dentist said that. My dentist said that. This is the best toothpaste for everybody to use. Well, that may be true, but just because your dentist said it doesn't mean that it's true. What if another dentist says this is the best toothpaste? Again, how do we know? Okay, so there we go. I have to have some type of doubt. Next, we're going to look at what we can know. So I'm going to put myself right here. There we go. All right, so what can we know? Well, we can learn. There's 4 essential things that we can know. And this is why, again, this is where we're starting with epistemology. So we can't justify what we know if we don't know what is possible for us to know. So giving you some examples, and these are very elementary examples, but they're important because they are simple. That is what makes them important. They are simple. So what can we know? First, we can know people. So I've used the same person as my example, Plato. Now, Plato, it was the student of Socrates. Plato is who you see pictured above me. Plato was the student of Socrates. We have I've mentioned Socrates a few times. I have told you that he was the teacher of Plato, and then Plato was the teacher of Aristotle. And Aristotle we focused on a little bit in our unit on logic, but I haven't really told you too much else. We're going to learn a lot more about Plato and Socrates during this. Essentially, during this unit, we're talking primarily about Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle, but we'll also be talking about several other philosophers. I would say the next one on that list would probably be Rene Descartes. I read his most famous work I don't want to call it, I read it probably during April, so during the whole lockdown, and it's like 85 pages, but it took me like 2 weeks to read because it's some pretty in-depth ideas that he had. But that's what we're going to be talking about. Those are the people that we'll be talking about over the next couple weeks. So our example here of what can we know, first thing we can know people. Plato knows Socrates, same way that you know your friend, this celebrity, who people are. You can identify people, so you know people's identity. So Plato knows Socrates, you can know people. That's we say that all the time. It's like, hey, do you know so and so? You either do or you don't. That is something that it is able to be known. Okay. Second is places. Again, I'm talking about the Roanoke colony in my American history class. The Roanoke colony is in the Outer Banks. So, one of the questions I'd ask them is, okay, who's been to the Outer Banks? Well, if you don't know what the Outer Banks are, if you don't know where they are, then you can't say that you've been there. So you can know places. In our example right here, Plato knows Athens. Athens is in Greece. And this is going to be important for us as we continue through this unit because we will need some historical background. But I'm kind of giving you some very elementary fillers here just to kind of get you familiar with Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, where they're from, this, that, and what have you. So we can know places. I know Ashboro. Somebody asks me where I live. well, actually, technically, I live in Randleman. Somebody asked me where I work. I say Ashboro. I know Ashboro. I know it is the location in which that I work. I know Ashboro. I also know UCA. I work here. This is a place. Um, so, where do you work? I work at. You are a charter. It is a place. I can know that. Okay. Next is language. So, what else can we know? We can know language. We can know language because that is how we speak. If we do not know language, then we do not know how to speak, do not know how to write, then we can't communicate. So, you have to be able to know language in order to communicate in some form or another, whether it's hieroglyphics, whether it is sign language. Again, whether it's written, whether it's spoken, it doesn't matter. You know language. In this example, Plato knows Greek. Me, Mr. Trogdon knows just English. I know very little Spanish. I didn't do too good in Spanish in high school Spanish. I actually took French in college, and it was a little bit easier. But I'm not your guy when it comes to being bilingual or trilingual or qualingual. I don't know. But you know English. I know English. Plato knows Greek. Here we go. Lastly, we can know factual information. Factual information. So Plato knows that when it rains, he gets wet. Okay. I know when I go outside and it's 90 degrees, I sweat. That is a fact about me. It is hot. When it gets hot, I sweat. When I jump into a pool, I get wet. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing stuff out of there. I know that if I know if I don't eat, I get hungry. That's factual information. We can know those things, and we do know those things. You know a lot more than you probably think you do. Some of it may seem just reactionary at this point, but it's at one point in your life it wasn't reactionary. It was something that you had to know. You had to physically, your brain was creating new neural pathways because you had to know it. Uh, you know, children, even your age, like your brain is developing at the fastest rate it's ever going to develop. More so, probably a little bit younger than what you are right now, but your brain is. You can do a lot with your brain at a young age. That's why we try to push kids to do well in school and to work hard because it's creating a lot of new neural pathways. It's creating a lot of different connections. Your brain, it's easier for you to learn a language at a younger age than it is like at my age. My brain has, it's not really developing anymore. I like to think that it is, but same thing with playing an instrument. You don't know why it's so hard for me to play guitar? Well, because I didn't do it when I was younger. If I'd done it when I was younger, or if I would have put in the same amount of effort that I do now, and the same amount of work ethic that I do now, when I was at 10, 12 years old, it would be much easier for me to learn then than it is now because again, my brain is not developing like it was then. So, factual information, you can know that. All right. Lastly, what we're going to leave today. Because again, this is just a very introductory lesson or a very introductory notes for us today. So what then is knowledge? So if we've talked about epistemology being the study of knowledge, we just went over the things that we can know. Well, what is knowledge in of itself? Well, Aristotle. So again, this is Aristotle right here. Aristotle, being the student of Plato, who again was the student of Socrates. That's important for us. I want to say that a lot because I need you to know that. Aristotle said that knowledge is awareness and understanding of a particular aspect of reality. I'm going to repeat that because, again, that's a weird way to describe something. Knowledge is awareness and understanding of a particular aspect of reality. So this is what Plato and Aristotle, I would say more so than Socrates. Well, nah, it just depends. Because Socrates didn't write any of his own, he didn't write anything down. Everything that we know about Socrates is from Plato. And Plato, in every single one of his writings, made Socrates the main character. So sometimes it's hard to distinguish Socrates the man and Socrates the literary figure in Plato's works. But either way, Plato and Aristotle were very much fascinated by reality. What is real? What is not? Um, there's a quote: "Perception is reality." Essentially, what you see is what is real. And if people see things different ways, then they believe different. Then they live in different realities. Knowledge, again, as Aristotle told us, is awareness and understanding of a particular aspect of reality. So, when we think about the word reality, it's like what is actually real and what is maybe not real that we perceive as real. This is what Aristotle was trying to figure out, and this is his basis for knowledge. He said that there are three conditions necessary for us to gain knowledge. One is that the knowledge is true. The knowledge is true. Um, so not only does the knowledge have to be true, you have to believe it, because if you know something, but you have to believe that it's true to know it's true. You know what I mean? You have to believe that it's true to know it's true. Because if you don't have belief in something being true, well, as Aristotle would put it, then you don't know it. Then you don't know it. If I don't know, let's see, if I jump off a 5-story building and, you know, I probably going to get severely injured. Probably going to get severely injured. I believe that I'm going to get severely injured. There is truth behind that because of, I've jumped off of, 10-foot things and hurt myself or, had the potential to hurt myself. So I believe that I will get severely injured if I jump off a 5-story building. I believe that it is true. Again, that gives me knowledge. But that's not the only part. The last part is the justification. The justification was, again, that I've jumped off of things less than 5 stories tall and still gotten hurt. So there is some justification behind that. They all essentially work together. The justification helps me believe. And if it helps me believe that it's true, that's how knowledge works. We have the truth behind the knowledge. We have the belief that the knowledge is true or that the fact is true. And then we have justification that kind of ties in all that together. So that is what you guys are essentially going to be doing here in just a little bit. Maybe some of you have already started on it, but it is the example epistemological questions. It's about what we can know, how can we know it? And essentially we're looking at today justifying what we believe to be true. Again, we may not have 100%, might not even feel very strongly about the subject. But again, it is about connecting these three conditions to gain knowledge: truth, belief, and justification. Because if we don't have all three of those, then it is not knowledge. It is either, it can just be something that we think may be true, but it's not something that we actually know to be true. Okay? All right. So we'll pick up tomorrow. Take a look at those questions, answer them. Again, you're just being graded on the amount that you write because I want to see your justification. I want to see your justification. Okay? All right. See you tomorrow. I'm struggling. There we go. Pause the recording.